Hello, Oracles. Well, I thought for sure I was going to be able to wear my green shirt today, but unfortunately the market had other ideas for us. So we started off pre-market, we were red. I mean, my video this morning, we were down almost 3% to start the day. And then as we got closer to open, we started to creep up. We pushed back over 700, and then the day opened and we shot up. We were anticipating Jerome Powell speaking. I thought for sure, leading up to it, we were going to be red, and we just kept going green. I know Jerome Powell was giving us information we wanted to hear. He did say that, with interest rates going up, there is a potential for a recession being caused by that. And so we soared up. Tesla pushed up all the way to 740, and then it just started to fade over the course of the day. And so we kept on trickling down and pulling down and pulling down, and ended up finishing down 0.4% to 708. So not bad. I mean, we still finished over $700. And again, we still have a long road ahead of us when it comes to getting out of this bear market. So a lot of this excitement is really just near term, hoping that maybe we get a little rally. It's nice to have a little rally during times like this because, man, it's tough getting beat up all the time. So realistically, we knew that we was going to pull back. It would have just been nice if we could rally a little bit longer. Now, we still have a couple of days left of the week. Maybe we do turn it around tomorrow and go back up. We'll see what happens. But, I was doing some math today for a video I'm going to be making this weekend on, how many shares I need for Tesla to retire on. And so in doing the math, I saw the stock pulling back and I'm like, ooh, I need a lot more shares to be able to retire. Ooh, pull back further so I can buy more. So it was kind of exciting me, to see the stock pulling back because I could buy more cheaper. And so mentally, if you are in a place right now where mentally it's very difficult because you're seeing the stock getting pulled down, I encourage you to take a step back and look at, just that, how many shares do you need to retire on, and ask yourself, all right, well, how many more do I need to buy? Okay, well, the stock pulling back allows you to buy more cheaper. So again, I'm going to be making that video this weekend for you guys to look at, and of course it's just based off of my own price targets. So, you got to do your own research and see what your own price targets are going to be, because that's going to determine what you think that you need for shares to retire on. And so I'm going to break it all down. A lot of that information coming out. I'm trying to figure out how I want to do it for the video. But today, Tesla Silicon Valley released the third part of their interview with Elon. All three are amazing, so I will put the link in the description down below for part 3. I definitely encourage you guys to watch all three. They're all a little bit over an hour each, so it does take a little time. So today I'm going to break down, it's going to be 2 parts. I'll do the first part today on some production updates that Elon gave in the interview, and the second part I'm going to do tomorrow morning is going to be on FSD. So he went over a lot of it in both, so it's too much for one video. So I'm going to break down all the production information that Elon went over in this. Now, keep in mind this interview is a couple of weeks old because, it took him some time to get these videos out, but the information is still very relevant for the moment. And so one quick note about production before we get into the interview. Looks like Tesla Shanghai is going to be down for 3 days. Now, there were misinformation coming out from Reuters again about Tesla being down for 2 weeks in Shanghai in July to retool. So sounds like it's actually going to be 3 days. It's going to be July 1st to July 3rd to retool. And this retooling is actually going to be a great thing, very bullish, because this is going to allow them to increase production over there. So this is going to be a very good thing that's going to be going on for the retooling. And I relate it to, working out. This is something I do all the time because I used to be a trainer. And when it comes to working out, I just did it for myself recently. You work out and then you get to a point where it's like a plateau and you're not making any progress, you're not losing any weight. So I just took a week off. I took last week off. I did not work out at all. I'd gotten myself down. I was down 15 pounds, down to 192, and I just kind of got stuck there. And so I took the entire week off, and I wasn't crazy. I altered my nutrition a little bit, and then I got back into it this week. And I actually already lost 2 pounds. I'm down to 190, and I feel rejuvenated, and I can actually start my workout from the beginning again because now my body's reset and I can then progress even further with the same habits and the same routine I had before. So this is going to be exactly what's going to happen in Shanghai. They're just taking this little bit of downtime to reset, and then they're going to be able to come back with the same habits and same routines they had before, but actually be able to produce more and make better progress. And so getting into the interview and Elon speaking about Shanghai, saying that there is so much focus right now on production that is going on. Because when it comes to being a car company, you're literally just like moments away from bankruptcy at all times, because you need to be constantly producing vehicles. If you are not producing vehicles, you are losing money. And so having that downtime for a month in Shanghai was very detrimental to the company, because that was really, Fremont is up and running, but it's not anywhere near the capacity of Shanghai and the efficiency of Shanghai. So having Shanghai being down for a month was very difficult for the company, especially while they were trying to ramp Austin and Berlin. So, he says when you're in that position, you're stockpiling materials and stuff that you need to be able to put into vehicles that you're not making money on. So you're spending money, but you're not making any money. And so while this was actually not a bad thing, because they were able to stockpile it and work through it and not have to worry about supply chain issues when they started production back up again, it still was an issue and a very big cost and expense to the company. And he said, when it comes to costs and expenses to the company, Austin and Berlin are like money furnaces right now. They are just burning billions of dollars of cash at the moment. They are not ramping at the pace that they expected them to ramp at. Austin is not ramping as fast as they expected because they're not ramping the 4680s as fast as they thought, and they're having ramp issues with the structural packs as well. So because of those two things, ramp has been significantly slower. And we knew this. We talked about it at the beginning of the year that the Austin ramp was going to be very, very reliant on the 4680 ramp. So they are working on it. They are speeding it up, but it's definitely slower than expected. And he said that the issue with that was, they could retool it to the 2170s, which is what their backup plan was. But unfortunately, the machinery for the 2170s was stuck over in China, and they couldn't get out of China because of the COVID lockdowns. So they couldn't get the machinery over that they needed to speed up the ramp in Austin, and that's kind of where they're stuck. And he said now it is a faster fix right now to get it resolved, but they had to deal with it at the moment, and it was very difficult, and that slowed everything down. He said Berlin is in a very similar situation, but because they started with the 2170s, they're not as far behind. And we know that they are going to be ramping up the 4680s come the fall. So that should help, because they're going to have, dual lines going with the 2170s and 4680s. So that should help Berlin stay ahead of pace when it comes to Austin. But both of them are still well behind expectations and behind where Shanghai was at this point in the ramp. And so again, this is still near-term issues. Once they do get things up and running, it will see an exponential growth in the future. And the 4680s are significantly more efficient, so this is the best step. But even Elon said before, it's going to take 3 to 5 years before that truly does get ramped up to pace and get where it needs to be. So it's going to be some time before we get there, but we will see exponential growth in the future. So again, this is a slower start than expected, but it is still a start and we're getting there. And all their focus right now is on production. It is about production, production, production. How much and how fast can they produce? How quickly can they get factories up and running to produce even more vehicles? And how can they overcome any supply chain issues to be able to produce all of the vehicles that these factories need to produce? And my take on all of this is, looking at the future and going over to AI, where, Elon is saying that Tesla is going to be more of an AI company in the future than a car company. And car company, you literally have to have your finger on the button at all times to be successful and not fall apart as a car company. As an AI company and a software company, not that you don't have to have your finger on the button at all times, but there's significantly more revenue and profits coming out of AI and software than there is out of making vehicles. So, if you have some things that slow you down, you still have so much profit coming in that you really don't notice it as much as you would with a manufacturing company when you're producing cars, because you take your finger off that button for a month and you're way, way behind the curve, and you've got to really catch up to get back up there and recoup all of that money that you have lost. And so looking at the future 10 years down the road, you get to 2030, 2031, 2032, we're going to be at a point where, obviously ramp is going to be done for all the factories. They're all going to be producing, as many millions of vehicles as they can. It's not going to be as much of an issue at that point because, scaling is going to be there. So then AI will come in on top of it. So, it's just going to be second nature to them to produce vehicles. And then you throw AI on top of it, along with energy, insurance, full self-driving, and the robotaxi network. All of that on top of, a self-sustaining, basically, EV manufacturing production plants. And you've got yourself a recipe for amazing success, which is why we always talk about long-term investing when it comes to Tesla, because they're just getting started. And then think about this, the crazy part about all of this, and we'll see it in Q2 numbers and how all of this really affected the Q2 numbers. And, maybe this is Elon planting the seed for us to anticipate a rough Q2 when it comes to numbers, and many of us are already anticipating it. But think about the fact that they have been as successful as they have been. Elon spoke in the interview many times about how rough the last year to year and a half was when it came to supply chain issues with the chips and all the other materials that they needed, and they still kept on crushing numbers. So let's see how Q2 goes, because obviously Q2 has been the absolute most difficult quarter since COVID started. It has been the most difficult quarter for them. So let's see how numbers come in, because they have done so well with all of these headwinds. And now we're going to have Q2 with the most difficult headwinds to face. So let's see how they do compared to Legacy Auto and all the other startups out there, because think about that. When you come out of a Q2 with the worst headwinds possible and you're still successful, think about how things are going to be when they don't have all of these headwinds. When all of these issues go away when it comes to COVID lockdowns in Shanghai, chip supply shortages, material shortages, all these cargo ships that are still sitting off the coast, when all of these issues go away, how good is Tesla going to be? Unbelievable, because nobody could catch them when Tesla was facing these headwinds. How are they going to be when Tesla isn't facing these headwinds? And two other little pieces that Elon dove into, they asked him about the Cybertruck. And Elon said production should start, 12 months from now. So middle of next year, middle of 2023, production will start on that. Obviously, we're assuming that ramp is going to be slower on it, but the 4680s at that point should be at a much better ramp pace. So he's looking at mid-2023 for the Cybertruck to start. And Elon said that when it comes out, that will be the vehicle that he is driving. No questions. He's just like, that is the one I'm going to be driving. So that excited me even more to be able to get my Cybertruck. So I'm really looking forward to that. And he did say that the design is locked. They are done designing it. The design is complete for the Cybertruck. No more changes. He said they were kind of overcomplicating it quite a bit, trying to add too many things to it. So we'll see what did end up getting added to it. We'll see what things maybe didn't get added to it. But either way, I don't know when we'll see this. Maybe we'll see it at AI Day 2. Maybe that's what's been driving around Giga Austin. We shall see in the future, but the design is locked. They are ready to go. They're finalizing things, and production will be starting mid-2023. Elon also did thank the public for stopping the spread of FUD. He knows that they don't have a PR team, they don't advertise, so really it's up to the public to stop, the FUD from spreading all the time. And he thanked all of us out there, and any of you guys who are, helping to stop the spread of FUD. Elon thanks you, and I will thank you from Elon because he was in the interview saying that. But anyway, and then he did say that maybe they should advertise, because when it comes down to it, the reason that all of these negative news headlines get put out there is because they're literally not paying these companies to not do that. You look at Chevy and Ford and GM and all these companies that are out there, and they're paying these companies to advertise for them, so they're not going to put out negative publication for a company who is giving them money. So Elon's like, for nothing else, we can at least advertise with them because they're getting money from us, and they'll stop spreading all of this bad news. So he said that's a possibility, and in listening to his tone, it sounds like that might be something they actually do to stop all the negative news that's getting spread by them. And he said, going back to like the 2017 to 2019 timeframe, that's literally all that it was every single day was all of this negative news constantly about Tesla. But as we had said yesterday, it's, when it comes down to it, their sales kept on going up despite all the negative news, because no publicity is bad publicity. It keeps your name in people's faces, and maybe not everybody actually reads the story behind it. They just read a headline and they say, hey, Tesla. I saw a story about Tesla. I don't know what the story was about. I just happened to see their name in a headline. So tell me about them. And that's it. So maybe that has actually been working in their favor because it's negative stuff. So who knows what they're going to do when it comes to advertising, but at least it's on Elon's radar. Think about advertising just to stop the spread of the negative news. Let me know your thoughts in the comments when it comes to production ramp. What do you think is going to take for Tesla to actually get there? They had said before that it's going to be Q3 and Q4 that we'll see the exponential growth when it comes to the ramp. Do you think that they'll still be able to get there despite the fact that Austin and Berlin have been ramping significantly slower than expected? Let me know how long you think it's going to take. Thank you all so much for watching. I appreciate all of your support and feedback. If you have not subscribed, please do so down below. Sign yourself up for notifications. I am over on Twitter at OracleTim1. I share all the latest Tesla news, pertinent stock market information, and all of my daily trades. We do have a Discord chat. That link is in the description. And if you'd like to support the channel any further, I do have a Patreon. That link is also in the description. Thank you so much. Have a great one.